Throughout history, society has been cruel to those who look different. Some women born with rare conditions or deformities were branded with a heartbreaking title, the ugliest in the world. But behind those faces were not monsters. They were mothers, daughters, and wives, with stories of pain, survival, and extraordinary resilience. Let me introduce you to Mary Ann Bevan. She was once a nurse, a wife, and a loving mother. But after developing a rare condition that changed her appearance, she was given the cruel title of the ugliest woman in the world. Behind the name was a real woman, fighting for her dignity and her family. Mary Ann was born in London in 1874. She grew up like any other young girl, full of dreams and determination. She trained as a nurse, cared for others, and lived a simple life. At this stage, no one could have imagined the drastic transformation her body was about to endure. In her 30s, Mary Ann developed acromegaly, a disorder that enlarges the bones and soft tissue. Her forehead grew prominent, her jaw widened, and her hands thickened. Overnight, the world stopped seeing her as a person and began to mock her as a spectacle. Life grew even harsher when tragedy struck. Her husband died suddenly, leaving her alone with 4 children to feed. With no support, no savings, and a face that society ridiculed, Mary Ann faced an impossible choice: starve with her children or use her appearance to earn money. In desperation, Mary Ann turned to the only option left. She joined sideshows and circuses, where she was advertised as the ugliest woman alive. Night after night, crowds gathered to laugh and stare, paying coins to witness her suffering, while she endured the humiliation simply to provide bread for her children. Behind the stage lights and the posters, the pain was unbearable. Imagine living every day knowing that your face was no longer your own, that it had become your only means of survival. Mary Ann bore this humiliation with quiet strength, hiding her broken heart behind a forced smile. Mary Ann was not alone. Throughout history, women born with unusual appearances, whether due to genetic conditions or deformities, were stripped of their humanity and paraded as freaks. Their stories are equally tragic, yet rarely told. Consider Julia Pastrana, a Mexican woman born with hypertrichosis, a rare condition that caused thick hair to grow across her face and body. In the 1800s, she was cruelly nicknamed the Ape Woman. Instead of being treated with compassion, she was exhibited across Europe as though she were not human at all. Julia was mocked and exploited, yet she was a talented singer and dancer. People paid not to hear her music, but to stare at her face. And the tragedy did not end with her death. For decades, her embalmed body was displayed in fairs, robbing her of peace even in the grave. Another victim was Grace McDaniels, born in 1888 with a severe facial deformity. She was labeled the Mule-Faced woman and pushed into the circus world. Although she despised the attention, she performed because it was the only way to earn a living. Like Mary Ann, she sacrificed her dignity for survival. These women lived in a world that mocked them relentlessly. The circus tents would roar with laughter and shock, while behind the scenes they sat alone, longing for normalcy, for companionship, for acceptance, for a simple life free from ridicule. Their legacies are not ones of fame or glory, but of exploitation. They remind us of how cruel humanity can be, how suffering was once sold as entertainment, and how dignity was stripped away for profit. Their pain must not be forgotten. Today we live in a world that still judges appearances, but their stories demand a lesson. Beauty is not defined by the shape of a face or the symmetry of features. These women, once mocked as the ugliest on earth, carried strength and endurance far greater than the shallow world that ridiculed them. So when we remember the so-called ugliest women in the world, let us not see their faces as objects of curiosity. Let us honor them as human beings, survivors of a cruel society. Their sad histories are not just tales of the past, but lessons of compassion we must carry into the future.